What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. NFL is back. It's back. We're finally here. We're getting started with the showdown on Thursday Night Football. Houston Texans, Kansas City Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champions versus another great quarterback in Deshaun Watson. Oh my God, I'm so happy NFL is back. I'm really excited for the season. Really excited to be making YouTube content for the season. If you're new to this video, make sure to like this channel or like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notification bell, leave a comment. All those things are really helping me grow. We've had so much growth throughout NASCAR and NBA season, and now NFL is here. This is the biggest sport, and hopefully we're going to just continue to grow. If you want to get some more of my content, you can subscribe to my Patreon. For only $10 a month, you're going to get my cash rankings, my top stack rankings, a weekly article for every single position for like the main slate on Sundays. You're going to get showdown articles. You're going to get all my injury notes and how every injury affects it. And that's not just like quarterbacks being out or running backs being out. That's like offensive linemen, defensive linemen, cornerbacks. All those things are really, really important. So be sure to check all that out for only $10 a month. I also have a Patreon tiers up for NASCAR and NBA if you're interested in that too, and go check out those videos if you're new because of NFL. So yeah, if you want to follow me on social media, Twitter's at DFSNateLane, Instagram's at @NateLane_. Just love talking about sports over there, really, and I'll answer questions for you about like DFS and stuff. So yeah, I think that's really all I got on that. Let's get into this showdown slate for the NFL season opener. All right, so for showdowns, usually my strategy is for captains, you don't necessarily need to go to quarterbacks, because quarterbacks, they just, all the upside comes from running backs and receivers, but there's a select few quarterbacks that I do like to play a captain, and it just happens that both of them in this game are captains. Like, the quarterbacks that offer the rushing upside are the ones that, or just, are extremely efficient passing the ball, are the guys you want to look to for captains at quarterbacks. So just for the season, like Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, and maybe Josh Allen, those are really the guys I look to key in on for captains. But I mean, stuff could change as season could go. I mean, Matt Ryan could end up being someone I like to go to, just for an example. So but that's just how I like to play Draftkings or play showdowns. So but Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson are like ridiculously expensive. Like, look, at captain, Mahomes is $18,900 and Deshaun Watson is $17,700. That is so expensive. But we're gonna have to pay for these guys. I mean, if you're playing Mahomes at captain, you want to stack him with at least one of his receivers or tight ends, and maybe even another guy. And I think even Clyde Edwards-Helaire at running back is fine too, because he's going to be a pass-catching back. Same thing with Deshaun Watson. If you're putting a quarterback in your captain, you're going to want to put the receivers in the lineup as well at the flex spots. So don't pick Mahomes and pick four Houston receivers unless you really think that's going to happen, which it could. But don't do that. Like, pick one or two, and it's going to be hard to fit like Hill and Kelsey. I don't even think it's possible. So yeah. So we're going to go over the matchups. So I have the starting offensive line right now for the Houston Texans, where we have Laramie Tunsil, Max Sharping, Nick Martin, Zach Fulton, and Titus Howard. And for the Chiefs, it's Eric Fisher, Kalichi Osmale, Austin Reeder, Andrew Wiley, and Mitchell Schwartz. When we come out to their grades, the Houston Texans do have a better offensive line as of right now, and by the grades, and the Kansas City Chiefs have just a slightly lesser one. But what really matters is how they grade out against the defensive line. So the starting defensive line for the Houston Texans is Whitney Merciless, Angelo Blackson, Ross Blacklock, and J.J. Watt, and Brandon Dunn. And the starting defensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs is Frank Clark, I don't know how to say that name, man. Chris Jones, Alex Okafor, and Derek Nunati. So when we go look out at the grades, first offense versus defense, actually the Texans their Texans offensive line grades out really well against the Chiefs defensive line, which I don't think a lot of people would know that, but surprisingly they do. And the Chiefs their offensive line grades out well against the defensive line. So this isn't a game where we're going to really have to worry too much about the pass rush affecting the quarterbacks, I think this is going to be a game where it's going to be a high shootout, a lot of passing, not too many like sacks getting after that. So in my opinion, just by looking at that, usually when I'm playing defenses on DraftKings, I like to look at the opponent, or I like to look at the offense versus the defensive line, and I don't think this is a game where you play a lot of defense, and we'll get into that more with the line. So I don't think defenses on the showdowns are going to be hugely in play on this slate. When we go to the wide receivers, I have the starting receivers for Houston are Will wide receiver 1, Brandon Cooks wide receiver 2, and the slot wide receiver Randall Cobb. We don't really know which one for sure. Cooks or 4 is going to be the number 1 guy, but right now I have 4 at 1 and Cooks at 2. That could change, but we'll get into the cornerback matchups in a second. And then for the Kansas City Chiefs, we have Tyreek Hill, Demarcus Robinson, and Sammy Watkins in the slot. Mecole Hardman's a guy that everyone wants to go to, but nothing has shown that he's going to be the starter yet. So right now, that is who I think the starting lineup is going to be. Mecole Hardman's going to be someone that a lot of people are going to want to get to, but this is the quarterback page. We're getting over to quarterbacks now. We'll go over to receivers when we get there. When we look at the cornerbacks, the starting corners for Kansas City are Javarius Ward, Rashad Fenton, and Tyrann Mathieu plays in the slot sometimes. I know he's a safety, but he also does play in the slot. And then this is where the matchups get interesting. For Houston, the starters right now are Garyon Conley, Bradley Roby, and in the slot, and Vernon Hargreaves third. Now, when we go look at the number 1 receiver versus the number 1 cornerback, this is where things get really, really interesting. So Will Fuller does have a positive matchup against Javarius Ward here. Bashaud Breeland's actually suspended 4 games for the Kansas City Chiefs, who is the starting number 1 corner. So you are getting a number 2 corner against Will Fuller and a number 3 against Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks actually does have a negative grade against his matchup, but it's still a backup Rashad Fenton that's coming in. He's not a normal starter, but we did see him show flashes last year. He was a pretty solid player. So it's not the best matchup, but I do love Will Fuller's matchup. And then on the slot, in the slot, you have Tyrann Mathieu going up against Randall Cobb, and so that doesn't look so great. So the receivers do actually grade out negatively for me against the corners for Kansas City, but I think that's still okay. I think that Deshaun Watson's good enough to get to them, and then Will Fuller's, we know he can have an explosion game. So that doesn't really affect me too much for Deshaun Watson. And then Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill against Garyon Conley grades out fantastic. This guy looks great. And then the even better one is Sammy Watkins in that slot against Vernon Hargreaves. Vernon Hargreaves sucks. PFF grade of 40.9, one of the worst in the NFL last year. And if we're getting a matchup there, the receiver matchups just look absolutely fantastic for Mahomes here. So definitely Mahomes is just looking absolutely great against this defense in Houston. And then we're going to go to tight ends, where Darren Fells is starting tight end for Deshaun Watson, and Travis Kelce is starting tight end for Kansas City. Darren Fells isn't someone who's going to be a high target share. He's probably going to be, honestly, he might end up being a 5th most targeted guy in that offense. 4 for 5th. He's going to be behind those 3 receivers, and then we'll see if Kenny Stills or Darren Fells gets more. So the matchup there doesn't matter as much, but Travis Kelce does. He has to go the linebackers, and then the safety Michael Thomas sometimes slots in the dime. Bernardrick McKinney and then Zach Cunningham are 2 good coverage linebackers, but Travis Kelce is still grading out a good bit better than them. So I think that he's another one that just looks like to be in a fantastic spot. And just all the receivers just grading so well for Mahomes. It's starting to look like a possible explosion game. And then we have the safeties for the Kansas City Chiefs. Starting safeties Tyrann Mathieu and Juan Thornhill. And then for the Texans, we have Eric Murray and Justin Reed. So those guys are all good coverage safeties, actually. The only one that maybe struggles a little bit is Eric Murray, but Justin Reed had a very good year last year. Juan Thornhill, and then of course we all know Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, it's just great. So it's actually a negative matchup against the safeties for all the receivers on both sides. So that does scare me off a little bit. And then when we go look at the total average offense versus defense for me, the Chiefs Patrick Mahomes grades out very, very well, and Deshaun Watson does not. So that's not great. But I'm still interested in, because this is the most important part. The line on this game is 54, and this is the highest line for any game in Week 1. I know this game isn't on the main slate for Draftkings, but it's still, just in general, the highest total game in Week 1. So you're going to have a lot of scoring. This game is supposed to be a high-scoring shootout game. The Texans are going to be playing from behind more than likely. The Chiefs are favored by about 10. So you are going to be getting the ball being thrown a lot more by Deshaun Watson, which does make me like him more. Yeah, the matchups don't look fantastic, but it is a showdown slate. Like, Deshaun Watson may not be someone I would go to too much if this game was on the main slate, especially considering his price. But on a showdown slate, yeah, I'm definitely going to get some Deshaun Watson. He brings you that rushing upside. The matchups aren't amazing, but he's still somewhere I want to go. All right, next up, we're going to go into the running backs, if it will load. Really? All right, I don't care. We're going to keep going. David Johnson, 11,400 for the Houston Texans is the starting running back. He's 11,400 as a captain, 7,600 as a flex. I think he is a very valid captain option on this slate. I do like where we go. We already went over the offensive versus defensive lines for already went over that. So it grades out negatively for the Houston Texans. Their run blocking unit is not that great, and the run defense on the Chiefs side of this thing is pretty solid. So the blocking doesn't look great for Duke Johnson or David Johnson. And honestly, usually you're gonna say, oh, the game script doesn't usually bode well for David Johnson, but David Johnson over his career has just been a great pass catching running back. He'll line up in the slot sometimes. We've seen it all the time in Arizona, and now he comes over here to Houston, where he'll probably get hurt in about 2 weeks. But for now, he's still viable, and I think he's someone that, even though it is a negative game script for him and he's a running back, he's still going to be a pass catching option. So he's someone I definitely want to go to. And Duke Johnson's another one that I like in the flex. Free Duke Johnson, man. He needs to be a starting running back somewhere. Anyway, we already went over the line, but Duke Johnson, another guy. He's going to catch passes. He's going to probably get targeted about 4 times this game. And if he can get a long catch or maybe even pass in for a touchdown, that's going to be big on his slate on a showdown slate. So Duke Johnson looks pretty solid at his price. He's not expensive. If you want to put him in captain, I don't even hate it. I don't hate putting in Duke Johnson at captain and stacking him with Deshaun Watson. Usually I don't ever stack. If I put a running back in a captain, I'm probably not putting their team's quarterback in there. But for pass catching guys, I am. So I'm also okay with doing that for David Johnson. But Duke Johnson at 4,800 in the flex looks very good to me. He may be a little bit too expensive, but I still think that's fine. I mean, he's going to get out of the backfield. He's going to be on the field a lot. So I think he is a solid option there. We'll go to Kansas City Chiefs running backs, where we start out with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, first round pick. He's 13,200 as a captain and only 8,800 as a flex, and honestly only 13,200 as a captain. Clyde's underpriced. He's going to be the starting running back. He's going to be out there a ton of possessions. They absolutely love him. Patrick Mahomes loved him coming in, and we just know that he is going to be on the field a ton. He is also another guy that you can stack with the quarterback because he is, at LSU, this guy was catching balls all the time. He was the best pass catching back in the entire draft this year, and that's why Kansas City got him. He's also a great runner up the middle, so in a positive matchup for the offensive line versus defensive line, it looks good for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think this is a game where also looks like a script for more running game towards the end of the game. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire could get a lot of touches on the ground as well, just because they're going to be ahead. So he's definitely someone I do want to look to go after on this slate. Those are only running backs I'm interested in. Only running back I'm interested in Kansas City. I don't really want any of Darwin Thompson, DeAndre Washington. Well, DeAndre Washington got cut actually, so I don't want any of those guys. Darrell Williams is the only one maybe because I think he's probably the number 2 or 3 guy, and if he gets maybe a 1-yard rush in for a touchdown, that could be good. I'm interested to see who gets the goal line work on his team if they're ever on the goal line because Kansas City is just not really there that much. But if they are, I'm interested to see who gets it because Clyde is smaller, but I think it probably goes to Darrell Williams. So he's someone I maybe would take a shot on here or there, but probably still not someone I'm too excited to go to. But we'll go to the wide receivers now. It's probably going to take a second to load again. But we'll start out with, I guess we'll go to Kansas City first because I just feel like going to Kansas City first. This guy right here, Tyreek Hill, $15,600, $10,400 as a flex. He's going to match up 1v1 with Gary and Conley for most of this game, more than likely. But even if it is Bradley Roby, overall, if we go look at the offense versus defense for overall, it grades out as a 20 plus 27. That's huge. Tyreek Hill just is in an absolute smash spot. Neither of these two corners, Roby or Gary and Conley, grade out fantastic. Roby a little bit better, but neither of them are going to be able to handle Tyreek Hill. And we know Mahomes is just going to launch the ball. He's going to look for Tyreek Hill this game. I just love the spot he's in. I think this could be an absolute explosion start to the season for Tyreek Hill. He is my favorite captain play. If you're playing a receiver at captain, you want to play the quarterback with them. Because just think about it. So if you're a wide receiver, let's just say it's a 20-yard touchdown. That means the wide receiver is getting points and the quarterback's getting points. You want to stack these guys together. I know most of you probably already know that, but if you don't, if you're playing a wide receiver at captain, you should play their quarterback with them as well. It doesn't always happen that way, but more than likely that's going to be, if the wide receiver's in the winning lineup as a captain, their quarterback will be as well. So Tyreek Hill, definitely someone I want to go to. The safeties for that's wrong. I don't know what happened there. Oh well. But Tyreek Hill just looks really, really solid. I think he's a good play. I think he's my favorite captain play at the moment on this team. I know they're favored by 10 points in this game, but Tyreek Hill still, to me, just looks like an absolutely great great play. He can be in for an explosion game. Then we'll go to Sammy Watkins, who gets to match up with freaking. Okay, I don't even like. Lonnie Johnson might start at corner too. Right now I have Vernon Hargrave starting, but it could be Lonnie Johnson. They were both terrible last year. Lonnie Johnson was actually graded out worse than Vernon Hargraves last year. I love Sammy Watkins in the slot. Remember week 1 last year when Watkins had like 40 DraftKings points? It might happen again, honestly, because they can't guard him. Like, Watkins is a good player. He's only an 8,700 captain play and a 5,800 flex play. This is someone that I want to look to put in both spots. I think he's a good option in both sides. He's probably going to only see about 4 or 5 targets, but I mean, he can take one of those to the house. I'm telling you, these guys cannot guard him. So I would not be surprised to see a Sammy Watkins explosion week once again in week 1. Demarcus Robinson at 3,300 for captain. I would not play him in a captain, but $2,200 flex play is an okay option because I think he'll be out there on the field. He's probably not going to get a ton of targets, but 1 or 2 targets if he gets one deep catch, that's probably going to be enough for him to really pay off. On a showdown slate, that's really all you need out of those cheap guys. And then we got Mecole Hardman, who I think is going to be everyone's favorite play this week because everyone just loves Mecole Hardman. But right now, he's not even a projected starter for me, so I don't really know how much I really want to get there. But still, it's a great matchup against the corners for Mecole Hardman, so he's definitely someone I have some interest in. I definitely want to look at going after Mecole Hardman on today's slate, or on this week's slate. He's just 5,200 for the upside of like a 30-point game on DraftKings. Like, that's just something you got to look at. He's probably going to be one of the highest owned players, I'd assume, though. So I would be maybe a little bit wary, but I still think he's a good option. Up next, we got Houston Texans receivers, where we'll start with Will Fuller at 12,000. He's expensive for a captain, and 8,000 for a flex. Like, that's expensive for Will Fuller, but no DeAndre Hopkins this year means Fuller and Cooks are going to be, one of them's going to be the wide receiver 1 and one's going to be the wide receiver 2. And we know Will Fuller, when he explodes, he explodes. This is a matchup where they're going to be down a lot. And I know they've graded out negatively against the corners, but I just don't. It doesn't matter to me, man. It's just so good. He's grading out positively against Charvarius Ward if that's who he's going to be guarded by. It's just the other corners aren't as good, but I do like. Charvarius Ward's going to be the number 1 guy, and if he's getting guarded by Will Fuller, or if Will Fuller's getting guarded by him, I definitely want to go after that matchup. I think that's a matchup that he could exploit, really go downfield, have a lot of big catches. So definitely someone I am interested in. Up next, we have Brandon Cooks, $10,800 on captain, $7,200 as a flex. Definitely someone I want some interest in as well. I think Fuller's a better receiver, but I don't know if he's ready to be a guy who's taking like 8-9 targets a game. Where I think Brandon Cooks at least has shown that in the past he can be that guy. So he could end up being the wide receiver 1 on this team. So I think he's going to get a lot of targets. He's only 7,200 for a flex and 10,800 for captain. Definitely someone I want to look at for captain along with Fuller. I bet you one of these two has a big game. We just got to choose which one. Again, make sure if you're playing these two to pair him with Deshaun Watson. So I think they are both solid plays. And then Randall Cobb, 6,300 as a captain, 4,200 as a flex. I wouldn't probably play Randall Cobb as a captain because I don't think the ceiling is relatively that high, but he gets you a few catches up the middle, maybe gets a touchdown in the red zone up to slot. So I think Randall Cobb is definitely someone that I could see being a good play in a flex. Probably wouldn't go after him in captain, though. Same thing with Kenny Stills. I think Stills, even though he's not listed as a starting receiver right now, is going to get a lot of snaps, and 4,600 as a flex looks like a solid option. And we'll finish this thing off with tight ends. We're really the only tight end I really have to talk about, I think, is going to be Travis Kelce. I think Fells and Akins are okay plays. Fells 4,400 and Akins 3,200 as a flex. I would not play either of them in captain. I just don't know how many targets they're really going to get. I really think they might be the 5th most targeted guys on this team. I think Fells, who will be the tight end 1, will probably be the 5th most targeted guy on the entire freaking roster. He's behind Fuller, Cooks, Stills, and Randall Cobb. So I don't think that he's going to be getting the ball as much. That scares me there. I think I maybe would rather just play Akins. We know Akins has explosion upside where he can break off. He's really athletic and break off some long passes, but still not something I'm really too interested in. And those other tight ends I really am not interested in. And then, Travis Kelce, he's just great. He's the second. He might end up being the most targeted guy. He's 1 or 2. We'll see. Every game, 1 or 2 most targeted guy in the Chiefs. So 13,800. Yeah, I'll pay all that for captain. Just make sure you're stacking Mahomes with him, and then 9,200 for the flex. Yeah, I definitely want to get some Travis Kelce. I think he's a very, very good play. Matches up really well against linebackers. So, and then Ricky Seals-Jones at 2,400 as a captain I want to go after, but 1,600 as a flex I think is okay. He's going to be the tight end too for him, but I mean he's always been a good red zone threat in Cleveland and Arizona I think is where he played before. So I could be wrong about that, but someone who could get in the red zone and get a touchdown or two. So well, not two. Maybe it just falls in for a touchdown or just gets one 15-yard pass. So I mean, just there's little things that add up on Showdowns. So don't be scared to go down to these guys. I think he's someone that could be a decent option. It's probably not going to get a ton of ownership. But yeah, I think that's really all I got to say on this Thursday Night Football Showdown slate. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Let me know how you thought it went. Be sure to subscribe to the Patreon. Follow me on social media. Got more videos coming out for you today. I got a quarterback breakdown video coming out real soon, so be sure to check out that as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, and hope you guys make some money on this slate, man. This is awesome. Football's back. Thursday Night Football. I mean, it's in a few days. I know it's early, but hey, man, we got to get going. Hope you guys have a great day.